Hi everyone, welcome to podcast 19 from Football-Oranje, discussing everything Dutch football. Today, we'll be talking about the Eredivisie first week's action, a preview of the provisional squad for France versus the Netherlands, and as always, we answer your questions that you send in to us on Twitter. You're probably listening to us on YouTube, SoundCloud or iTunes. If you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us. So we saw all the Eredivisie action last weekend. There were some surprises. Heracles beat Ajax. Is that a surprise though for you two? Or do you think maybe Ajax deserved to lose that game?
I think they underestimated Heracles. Heracles have been known to survive in Eredivisie because of their home form primarily, and also the fact they're extremely well organised. But I think Ajax, maybe with not so much a hangover from Europe, but the disappointment of not going through in the Champions League qualifiers and wanting to start with a high tempo, wanting to start with a win, and coming unstuck against a team which can provide a difficult away day. But they're already 3 points behind Feyenoord, and there's only one game played, so that's not the best start. The other results which caught my eye was Venlo's 3-0 home win against Sparta. I think it was really convincing, thoroughly deserved, and fantastic way for them to announce themselves back into the Eredivisie after a 4-year absence. I also wanted to make a point of the derby of the North between Groningen and Heerenveen, which ended in 3-3 with penalties, with bad defending, with neither side wanting to lose any bragging rights, and I think that game did its title justice. And
Yeah,
I actually think with Groningen and Heerenveen that also, although it was a crazy end to the game, I agree with the managers. A draw was a fair result.
it was a really good game, wasn't it, between Groningen and Heerenveen. Just want to go back to your point, James, about VVV. You met Marty Stein, I believe, just the other day.
Yes, yesterday.
And how was that? Was it great to meet
It was
Maurice?
Yeah, it was wonderful. I can't speak highly enough of him. The whole afternoon have been well received, and having a great chat about many different things, about ADO Den Haag, about his internship with Jose Mourinho, with his finding his place in Venlo, and wanting to build something. It was interesting to hear about what characters he looks for when they're trying to attract players and when looking for new players. And one point which really stuck with me is that this is a man who, when he played in his own career, his career was ended at the age of 27 due to injury, and he states himself that he never had the opportunity to go abroad as a player, and he hopes eventually to have that opportunity as a manager. But he's still got some work to do at Venlo, and I think they'll surprise a lot of teams this season. And as I stated before the season began, not just Venlo but also NAC Breda, who also got promoted last season. I can see them both staying up without any difficulty at all.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think VVV and NAC Breda, like, they're going to have very good seasons. They've got better players than some people expect, especially NAC because of all the low knees they have. But also, I think you're right there, James, about Stein, a magnificent character for that team, and he really just drives them along, doesn't he? It's been a busy week for you, hasn't it, in terms of interviews? Could you tell some listeners about what you've been up to as well? These interviews, by the way, are all available on football-oranje.com if you want to have a read.
Yeah, it started, just to give the listeners a bit of a background information, this started just over a year ago with William Vloed, who was the then manager of Den Bosch, and since then managed to have, amongst others, Luigi Brouwens from Excelsior, Eduard de Plam from ADO Den Haag, Jeroen van der Lelen and FC Twente, and yesterday Maurice Stein. This morning I interviewed the manager of Achilles 29, who were relegated from the Europa League last season. And tomorrow I have a telephone interview with the Helmond Sports centre-back, Michael Verkulen. So I look forward to that. The interviews have been coming thick and fast, but it's nice to get a couple under my belt with Roland Bergkamp when he was at RKC Waalwijk a few weeks ago. To go there and to visit him, and nice to be busy. and long may it continue.
Great. So if we go back to the Eredivisie, Michael, I just wanted to get your opinion on what stood out for you last weekend.
I think there's a few things that stood out. PSV getting a much needed win over AZ. It wasn't pretty at times, but got done. And I think one player that definitely stood out for me over the weekend was Herving Lozano. Their big summer signing, the little Mexican, was basically tormented the AZ defence in the first half. He had 3 great chances, scored 1 great goal, hit the bar, had 1 cleared off the line. He's going to be an exciting talent to watch. Sadly, I think we have to also mention the fact that Calvin Stengs, who Football-Oranje.com's tipped basically to be one of the stars of the season, big talent, only 18, sadly his season's over after damaging his knee ligaments against PSV. It's a shame because in the opening 5 minutes, if you watch the game, he was the best player on the pitch by far. In the opening seconds, he absolutely skinned Jori Hendricks. He was direct running at the PSV defence, had him scared. And then, 8 minutes, he's getting stretchered off, and that's the season over. Luckily, it was a really bad one, and it's lucky that his career's not actually over. It's only going to be a season, he's going to recover from it. So hopefully next year we'll see him back, and he can get back to the level he was at before he got injured. Other things that stood out, I think Feyenoord looked very strong. They weren't at the best against FC20, but they just got the job done, and that's what champions do. The AJAX, they slipped up. Feyenoord easily could have slipped up in that game. 20 had their chances, but they rode out, got the win. And I think the front 3 of Feyenoord are already clicking. That's 2 games in a row that Boetius has set up Jorgensen to score goals, and I think them two are going to have a very productive partnership going forward. Also on FC20 as well, I think we're pretty pessimistic on their chances going into the new season after a pre-season form, but they don't look as bad as what they did in pre-season. I think that maybe they'll do better than what I thought beforehand. Utrecht as well, they looked very strong. I didn't think that they'd be as strong before the season after losing Haller. But Dessers actually looks like a really good signing in the Eredivisie. He scored 2 goals at the weekend, and I think he's going to be a big signing for them.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Utrecht because as we're recording this podcast, they've just beaten Zenit St. Petersburg, and once again, I think that's down to Erik ten Hag just really sorting out the tactics of that team. They just perform so magnificently considering the names they have in that squad. I always say that, but you can only admire the work he's done there, and I think that goes again to René Haake at Twente. I just said, Michael, like they've gone from pre-season looking pretty inept, and they've turned up against Feyenoord and actually put in a pretty good performance and could have come away with a draw. It's a positive way of looking at it. Feyenoord, of course, did look strong, much stronger than Twente, and looked ready for the win at the title. Have any of your opinions changed, by the way, with regards to your potential title winners? Do you think that the weekend's performance of AJAX has kind of put you off maybe a title tilt? Do you think Feyenoord have again persuaded you to that they will be title contenders again and they will lift the trophy again?
I predicted before the season started that Feyenoord would prolong the title, and from what I saw against FC Twente, it was a slow start, but to win on the opening day is very important. I think for AJAX to be playing catch up already after 1 game is a bit concerning, but there's a long way to go. There'll be many twists and turns, and be interesting to see what Europe does and how that plays a part in terms of potential Champions League group for Feyenoord, the strength of opponents, and hopefully a Europa League campaign for AJAX as well, should they dispatch of Rosenborg. They play them in the first leg is in Amsterdam tomorrow night.
I think for me that Feyenoord looked strongest over the weekend, and you've got to say that they're still the favourites for the title. But it's going to be very interesting because I think AJAX looked weak defensively again, and they've not got very many options right now. But if they do sell Davinson Sánchez 50 million and they bring in a few recruits, that strengthens their side, which is what's needed for them to be title contenders again. Because I think if they lose Sanchez, their defence just looked shaky against Heracles and against better teams. They might get picked apart. I think Sanchez will be a big loss for them if he does go to Tottenham, and 50 million will over Mars let Kaiser spend it when he's need to wait and see, because I think that's the only way they become title challengers. But PSV, they won the game. I still don't see them being as strong as Feyenoord going forward, but they weren't as bad as everyone made out before the season, and they could be around challenging Ajax for second, I think.
It's let's talk more about Sanchez. He has been heavily linked with Spurs, and it's supposedly that he has agreed personal terms with Tottenham ahead of an expensive deal. I don't know what the fee is exactly, but I believe that Spurs offered 40 million, but Ajax wanted 50. Michael, what's the latest on that? Like, has there been any more developments today, and what can Spurs expect to gain from Sanchez? Because he's an excellent defender, isn't he?
Oh, he's superb. Developments today, obviously, the Telegraph this morning said that personal terms have been agreed on a 5-year deal. Ajax are holding out for 50 million, which I think is great. They're not bowing to the pressure of a Premier League side offering 40 million. It's a big money for a Dutch club, but they know that Sanchez is tied down to a long-term contract. They know what he's worth in the market these days, and they're holding out 50 million. And I think eventually it will get paid by Tottenham. But I think there's just a little bit of hardball getting played right now. Sanchez actually trained with Ajax today. He didn't train yesterday, saying he had a sore knee, which I think was just a bit of a guise, a bit of a shadow play. But today he was back. He's actually in the squad for the Rosenborg game tomorrow. Kaiser confirmed that in his press conference, but he also said he might not be there tomorrow if things change, and we just need to wait and see. If Tottenham up their bid tonight, then he's gone tomorrow, and he won't be in the squad. But if Ajax hold out for 50 million, then he could play against Rosenborg, and that's a big boost for Ajax tomorrow. But Tottenham are getting a very exciting centre back if they do sign him. Just to go along with the players they've already signed, like Vertonghen, Alderweireld, who already came through Ajax. He's great in the air. He's powerful. He's strong. He likes to bring the ball forward. You only have to see in the Europa League times, like in the semi-final against Ajax against Lyon. Dying minutes, he had the ball at his feet. He was striding forward. He was running forward, acting like a centre forward. He wants to get the ball at his feet. He's just an excellent centre back, and only 21. He's only going to get better. I think Tottenham's right sort of step as well. It's not going to Barcelona or Real Madrid to use linked to. I think Pochettino can mould him like he's moulded a few young players there. They've got a young squad like Dele Alli, players like that. Jansen's there. If these players get developed, and Tottenham are looking very strong, and they're going to be title contenders in the Premier League game this season. I think Sanchez, he'll go there. He won't be first choice straight away, but I think over the next seasons he'll become a big player in the Premier League.
See, I think he'd go in and quickly settle as a third choice centre back behind both Alderweireld and Vertonghen if Vertonghen's not shifted out to left back, because Sanchez is, for me, he would be ready to step into Barcelona simply because of his attacking abilities and his determination to really get forward. I also think that he has excellent ball control. He can pass. I do think, though, that sometimes, from a negative point of view, he's caught out of position, and perhaps he's caught sort of ball watching and not really looking at his defensive line when he really should be the defensive leader next to an 18-year-old De Ligt. But that's really his only weakness that I've noticed so far. As you said, Michael, he's strong. He wins things in the air like all the time, and I think it'd be an excellent addition for Spurs, especially to challenge for the title. But whether or not Spurs will pay that money is another issue, and I think Sanchez could do another season with Ajax, but that's not to say that he wouldn't be ready for Spurs. I'm sure he'd get a lot of games in both the Champions League and the Premier League.
I think the interest surrounding Sanchez shows how far he's come as a player. It was only in 2016 that he was brought to Ajax from Atlético Nacional in Colombia. He's then gone on to be capped by Colombia twice, to grow in stature. He's physically extremely strong. I remember him first catching my eye last September when I went to watch Ajax play Pexwola, and they won 5-1, and he was everywhere. For defenders, for a centre back, he was everywhere. He was in the opponent's 6-yard box, and Mike's comments about what Kaiser echoed the comments about what Kaiser said, that I translated the press conference that he did earlier on this evening, or earlier on today, And Sanchez is part of the squad. Kaiser has said that he doesn't. He's not the only manager that has to deal with uncertainty with potential players leaving. All clubs have that scenario, faced with that scenario until the window shuts on the 1st of September. And Kaiser is intent on doing what's best for Ajax and what's best for his team. And we'll just have to see how the situation plays out, considering that when Sanchez made his name with his Copa Libertadores experience in Colombia, that Barcelona, Flamengo and Ajax showed an interest, and Ajax was the one to get him. It shows that Ajax can still attract worldwide talent, and in this case it's blossomed. And you would hope that Ajax get the right price, and most importantly that money is reinvested, because their buying policy at Ajax is somewhat questioned, especially here locally these last few weeks, where fans are becoming a bit disgruntled, where the money is there but they don't want to invest, and they're not concerned with being a rich club. They want to maintain their heritage. They want to reinvest in quality players to go for another league title. So be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Talking of centre backs, Virgil van Dijk is currently on the edge of leaving Southampton, but then the club today played hardball and said that he's not for sale and he will be staying for this season. They want to replace him with Lazio centre back Wesley Hoedt, or supposedly, as Southampton say, they want him to play alongside Van Dijk. Is that a good choice for Wesley Hoedt?
I may be a bit controversial and showing no disrespect to Southampton supporters, but I don't think it is. Hoedt was also linked to Leicester. I think it was back in during the January transfer window. I think it might have been. He's doing really, really well at Lazio. He's becoming a fan favourite. He's playing every single game. He's being involved in a very, very difficult league, which will only gain in quality as time goes on. I think if Wesley Hoedt stays where he is and continues to improve, it wouldn't be far-fetched to think that Juventus might come for him eventually, or Milan might come for him, or a top European side could want to use his services. And I think he's running the risk of maybe moving too soon. Lazio play the Europa League this season. They just won the Italian Super Cup. They have good players as well, such as Immobile, and they're really on full cylinders with Simone Inzaghi as the manager. So I would, in the case of Wesley Hoedt, I would urge caution, and I would stay where he is until a bigger club, maybe Juventus, maybe Milan, in terms of staying in Italy. Because I think naturally over time they're going to show an interest in him, because he's been so consistent in what is a very, very high quality and very difficult league from top to bottom.
Yeah, I have to say, James, I do agree with you. And if you look at it as well, Wesley Hoedt was named in the provisional squad ahead of the key qualifier against France for the World Cup. Do you think that Wesley Hoedt's likely to start? For both of you as well, do you think there's any surprises in this squad that's just been announced?
I think there's loads of surprises. I think the main surprise is that Robin van Persie's back in the squad after now a 2-year absence. The last game he played was the defeat to Czech Republic in Amsterdam, the game where he actually scored an own goal, and it ruined our hopes of getting to Euro 2016. His form for Fenerbahce has not been that great, but I think the Advocates picked him in provisional squad. Whether he makes it into the actual final squad, or Janssen and Bastos remain the strikers, with maybe Jurgen Okadi as the third one, remains to be seen. But that's a surprise. There's also a surprise with Ryan Babel. For 7 years he's been back, but this shows you that Babel's really gone through a good change in his career. I think he went off looking for a bit of money for a wee while, but then he went back to Deportivo, found his form again, went to Besiktas, and in Turkey he's doing really well, and this is the reward for him doing really well. He's got a call up. There's also Karim Rekic, who was a bench player at Marseille last year, hardly played at all, moved to Hertha Berlin in the summer, The season will start yet, but he's already in the Netherlands squad. It shows. I think the main thing that highlights is a lack of options that Netherlands have at the moment for such a key game against France and Bulgaria after that. That we have to go to these players that really aren't starting for their clubs. And it's a bit of a worry, really. Vincent Janssen's going to be the main striker again. He doesn't get a game for Tottenham. He's still there. He sat on the bench at the game against Newcastle all weekend. Van Persie might be the backup. He's not scoring goals. For defence, you've got Rekic. It's a bit of a worry for me going forward. The only highlight I'd say was the good thing was Donny van de Beek's got his call up after his form for AJAX season. I think he's going to be a big player for Netherlands going forward, and I look forward to seeing him get his debut.
I think as well, with the experience that you see in the squad with Van Persie, Robben, Sneijder, I think Advocaat will, for the game in Paris, fall back on experience, and because I think he will believe that will be the best way to get a result. I think with the inclusion of Van Ginkel and Donny van der Beek, I think it may also be Advocaat's way of seeing how they are physically, how sharp they are, in order to be included. I think with the way that Tony Verheyen has played for Feyenoord and being instrumental in their title win, I would like to think that he would get more of a shot at international level to show what he can do. Maybe not being the glue that holds everything together in the attacking force, but being able to get more game time to show what he can do. But I think the game against France is key, and I think with Advocaat's experience at international and club level, that he knows that if he can call on the experienced players that he has, even though it may be 3, 4, 5 of them, that may well be the best way of getting a result.
He's got experience, but he's going to end up playing the 4-3-3 that hasn't really served the Netherlands that well recently, and playing that midfield three of Wijnaldum and Klaassen with Strootman. The call-up of Donny van der Beek was definitely promising, seeing as he's been pretty good actually for Ajax, and hopefully he can play in the defensive midfield role that really needs filling, seeing as he's very flexible in the midfield area. But there isn't any time really for Advocaat to keep experimenting. He's got to pick a team that he's probably seen quite a lot already. And I also think, we're back to Michael's point about Van Persie and Janssen both being in the squad. They both play well on the international stage. There's no denying that, and that's probably why they're in the squad. It's purely based on international form, and not really on club level form. But do you two think that there's going to be... he hasn't got much time to see the players in action, and especially not in game action. Is this the best preparation? You talk about Advocaat's experience to get a draw, but is it enough to get the win they really need?
They have a chance to win in Paris. There's no doubt about that. They can't be written off completely.
No.
They definitely have a chance, but it's all... I think it will be like a blood and thunder type experience, where they know that should they not come away with ideally a win, or if they was to lose, that Russia next year would be even further away. I think with Advocaat returning to the national team fold for the third time, he's not doing it, I don't think, to waste time. He wants to naturally get to a World Cup. He wants the national team to do well. But should the Netherlands fail to qualify, then it's back to square one again, because I can see Advocaat staying for the remainder of the qualifying campaign. But after that, regardless, that may well be it, because he's also getting older, and an older manager also has to enjoy his retirement and do other things that he would like to do. So I think it will be a last chance saloon in Paris, where they're going to have to go full pelt from minute one if they are going to get a positive result.
I think the worry for me is that the squad, if you line it up against what we'll eventually see from France, the depth and class between the two squads is going to be huge. I mean, France is going to go into that game knowing that they need to win as well after that result in Sweden. And I think that they've got the youngsters coming through like Mbappe, all the Monaco youngsters got once Tolisso just went to Bayern. I mean, this squad's going to be filled with talent. They're going to go at Netherlands for minute one as well. I think it'd be very dangerous for Netherlands to think that we're going to that game knowing that we have to play. They're probably thinking exactly the same, and they're going to go full pelt from the start. And if it falls upon players that aren't getting game time in clubs, it's going to be very dangerous because they're not going to be as sharp as the French players, and I think that's going to hurt us. I'd like to see Dijk and Hoedt actually experiment a little to try and get the best players in the best form in a formation that works instead of just going for 4-3-3 in the familiar names.
My actual worry is France's pace down the wings against Danny Blind at left back and your Veltman at right back. Seen Veltman struggle already against pace players, especially in the latter stages of the Europa League. And that's my worry there, because France got this much talent. I just think they can overrun in midfield and play through the flanks, and then there's a lot of trouble. But you say don't write the Netherlands off, but how much confidence is in them getting this result?
I mean, right now I wouldn't say I was hugely confident of getting a win. It depends on the final squad, what team there is, and we need to see the final squad. But right now it's pretty pessimistic. I think the only way I can see Netherlands reaching Russia is maybe scrape a draw in Paris and then hope that Sweden slips up somewhere. I think if they're going to go to Bulgaria, you're hoping that Bulgaria can do Netherlands a favour there, and the Netherlands need to win all the rest of their games, or that's it really. I think France will be a bit too strong. I think if France had beaten Sweden, they might have taken their eye off a bit. Might have thought we're ahead, we're gonna qualify. But now that they need to win as well, I just can't see Netherlands getting a win in Paris.
Okay. I think we finished this week's podcast on the questions we had in via Twitter. Now, the first one I think we'll go for is the one from Cam, who talks once again about Davinson Sánchez. He says, with the transfer looming, does Ajax look for an immediate replacement, or would a loan move make more sense? Can I just put my opinion forth on this one first? Ajax recently signed a South American right back. Could I have his name, please?
Luis Manuel Orejuela.
Great knowledge, James.
And they managed to get him for 3.6 million.
See, I feel like that. From where? Sorry.
I think Deportivo Cali in Colombia. I'll have to double check that. Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's right. Same club as he got Casiera.
So the scout there has recommended to Kaiser about this player, and they spent a lot of money on signing him. Now, I think that the Sanchez money will stay with Ajax, and Orejuela will end up playing a lot of games at right back, and Veltman will be asked to play at centre back. I don't think they're going to look for an immediate replacement, especially not a loan deal, especially now that Fozzie Mensah's gone to Crystal Palace on loan and not to Ajax. What do you think, you two?
I think.
Sorry, after you.
I was just going to say, I think that Ajax are clearly scouting the South American market, so whether they go back there for someday in the coming weeks, we'll have to wait and see. But options in the Netherlands, I think they would have had a few if this transfer had happened at the end of the season. But I think every single option they have to sign a young Eredivisie centre back is gone. I think Hoogma could have done it. I think St. Eustace could have done it, and I think Rick van Drongelen would have been another good signing. But I think all three of them gone to other clubs. I think it's slim pickings right now for Ajax, and whether they go to South America or they look to, as you say, move Joe Veltman or Viergever back into the middle and make more use of even Zeefuik at right back or Dykes to keep him and use him more at left back and move Viergever into the middle. The only thing I would say about that is Viergever looked very shaky alongside De Ligt against Heracles, and
Agreed.
I think if that's the first choice centre pairing for the rest of the season, then that might be a bit of a struggle for Ajax.
To answer the question from the Twitter follower, they should reinvest that money. they should reinvest that money if they receive it. Luis Manuel Orejuela was signed from Deportivo Cali in Colombia. I would like to elaborate on Mike's point about Seyfalk. I saw him make his debut against Eden Vane last April, and he's got an awful lot of promise, and it would be such a shame for someone who you could tell within 10 minutes of when he come on to make his debut to have the gumption and the confidence to gesticulate to other teammates about where to stand, and also dictating where opponents are from the areas upon which they are attacking. It would be such a shame if Seyfalk was to find himself maligned by this, even though that Orejuela plays as a right back. So I would reinvest the money. When I spoke to Maurice Stein yesterday, he was saying about the need to scout well and identify good characters. Players are there if you look, and Ajax used to have a policy where they would study and they would look and they would take their chances, and they need to get back to that. They need to get back to scouting early. As soon as a player is of enough quality that they deem to be able to play for Ajax, then they should go in for the kill. They should go in to attract that player. The names that Mike just mentioned, Ajax not so long ago would have gone for these players extremely early, and they already would be Ajax players. So it would help them, if they do receive the money from Sanchez, to reinvest as soon as possible. It would also placate supporters who are not so much worried about players leaving, but the fact that the club don't really want to release the funds they've got, and the fans they don't care about the club having an awful lot of money and making money. They care about attracting talent to push the club forward to hopefully win a league title again.
If it's relating to the transfer market, and another question I hear about Eloy Rowe, the Vitesse goalkeeper. He's talking about the rumoured move to PSV. Surely too much talent to be a number 2. Is this a step up, or is it all about the money? Just to give a bit of background to this, Remco Pasveer has recently gone from PSV, who was a second-choice goalkeeper, to Vitesse, and seems to be competing very well with Rome to be their first-choice goalkeeper. But Rome is actually a very good goalkeeper and is on the cusp of getting a call-up to the Netherlands national team. But it seems weird that he's going to PSV to be second-choice. Do you think that his recent toils with not being the first-choice goalkeeper outright at Vitesse have helped him push him out the door, or do you think it's all about the money?
I think. Oh, sorry, Michael. After you.
I was going to say, he only has 1 year left on his deal in Arnhem. I think earlier in the transfer window is very strongly linked to Everton. He spoke about how he was looking to leave this summer to further his career. And you could say that moving to PSV to be second choice is a bit of a cop-out, but if you think about it, Dijk and Hoedt is getting heavily linked to a move away from PSV recently, and the Telegraph even said today that a move to Benfica looks very likely before transfer window ends. So Rowe will be going to PSV to start as second choice, but if Hoedt leaves, then he's number 1, and then he's number 1 at PSV instead of being number 2 at Vitesse, or even number 3 if he went to Everton, and then you could say that it was a great choice for his career.
I agree. I would be surprised if he's not number 1 in Eindhoven by the time the transfer window is closed. The rumours are gathering momentum that Dijk and Hoedt will leave. I saw that he was linked to Crystal Palace. I would be surprised if Dijk and Hoedt was to remaining Eindhoven. I think with Rome, I think people that are criticising him, he's been involved with Vitesse Arnhem for 15 years. He's given an awful lot to that club, and been ever present in the cup-winning side, in the league, in their previous Europa League qualifying campaigns. He could not have given anything more to the club than he's physically already given. I think it's a good move for him, especially if he'll end up as number 1, which I think he will be, and then he can his career will progress from there. You got to remember as well, he's only 28 years old, and there's still a lot to come from him. As regards to Davinson Sánchez, I think Benfica would be a fantastic move for him, especially a club of that stature, if that does turn out to be the case. But I can see Rowe being the number one in Eindhoven once the transfer window has closed.
And finally, we have a question from Cam. Where do you think Heerenveen will finish this season? He also had a second question asking who our tip was to win the league this year. Is it Ajax or Feyenoord? We answered that question earlier, so please rewind the podcast. Where do you think Heerenveen will finish this season? So, on the weekend against Groningen, they were 3-1 up away from home, but again threw away a lead. How often did we see that last season? Quite a lot. And it's all down to Heerenveen's tactics of being far too attacking and not wanting to defend a 3-1 lead. They were very careless within their own penalty area, giving away penalties. And I just think that will again hold them back, despite them having some very good attacking players. I just think that they're a little bit too unprepared in defence, and it's just about, oh, he's a good defender, he can do his job, as opposed to actually paying attention to the tactics that are needed in certain parts of the game, certain transitions of the game. They have to realise what to do when, is my opinion.
I can't see anything other than mid-table again. Yeah, and looking again on Sunday, it's just defensively, they're all over the place. I think Van Aken early in the second half, he was very, very lucky not to give away a penalty for a tug on Veldvik. It was blatant. And then later on again in the game, he does it again and gives away a penalty that the Groningen scoring in the end, getting a draw. I think he's a player that had so much promise in his youth, and he's just not gone on as expected. I think he's had injuries, but he was meant to be the next big talent, like St. Just was over the last couple of years, but he's just never really developed properly. And I think Heerenveen have a number of talented players that just aren't playing to their potential all over the side. I think Odegaard, I think it's a big year for him. I think he shows glimpses here and there. Whatever he can do week in, week out is just another thing. To seeing Sam Larsson not playing, and if they need to get rid of him as soon as possible, get the funds in and strengthen the squad, or it's going to be 10th, 11th, 9th is the best that they can hope for.
My prediction for Heerenveen is that they'll finish between 7th and 10th. When you look at the squad with Sinelli, with Odegaard, with Steinsgaard, and the new defender they've got, Dumfries, and with Woudenberg from Feyenoord, there is quality there, there is talent there. And Statham is also much maligned. I think it's taking him a lot longer to achieve what he wanted to achieve at Heerenveen. He had spells at Willem II before he arrived at the club where they were playing some exceptionally good football, and it wasn't that long ago that when Feyenoord were in deep trouble with Van Bronckhorst and they couldn't win a game, that Statham was linked to Feyenoord. So there is quality there in the squad, there is quality in the manager as well, and my prediction is that they'll finish between 7th and 10th this season, and maybe have a cup run too.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, our Twitter handles are in the description on YouTube and SoundCloud. Don't forget, if you listen to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, please. And if you have any questions for us, you can send them in via Twitter. You can comment on our various platforms, just YouTube, even on Facebook. We do look. And we look forward to talking to you next week.